Economically, things are following a clear pattern. Global demand for Norwegian salmon is growing at an unprecedented rate, with consumers from Tokyo to Los Angeles seeing it as a symbol of pure nutrition. But supply is limited, not by production capacity, but by the Norwegian government's deliberate restriction on the number of farms to protect the fragile fjord ecosystem. This controlled scarcity keeps salmon prices soaring, and paradoxically, it reinforces its image as an ocean luxury. Many call this luxury pricing, turning food into a luxury item. But for Norwegians, the price isn't about exaggeration, it's about the price of purity. The price of purity. Because behind every perfect piece of salmon on the table is time, technology, and respect for the ocean. Inside, hundreds of sensors and AI systems monitor the heart rate of each fish, the movement of each wave, and the water quality in real time. Instead of humans directly controlling the system, artificial intelligence talks to the sea, predicting any changes before they happen. The goal is not just to raise more fish, but to raise them without harming the ocean. A model where waste, emissions, and noise are all recycled or eliminated, where people learn to live with the ocean, not exploit it. From ice-covered fjords to floating offshore stations, Norway is proving that the future of global cuisine lies not in producing more, but in producing smarter. One day, the salmon on your dinner table may come from the middle of the ocean, fed by the wind and grown in harmony with nature. If you also believe that the best things always start from purity, subscribe to the channel to explore more magical journeys with us, where nature, humans, and technology meet in the endless ocean. From the cold waters that nurture Norwegian salmon, the journey takes us to southern Australia, where another treasure lurks under the rocks. Abalone, a tiny sea snail that is sought after like gold. They do not grow as quickly as fish and shrimp, but patiently mature in 3 to 5 years, existing only in cold, clear, and absolutely pure seas, like southern Australia, which is known as the Kingdom of Abalone. Unbowed by technology or industrial farming, abalone lives in the wild, and its rarity makes it a symbol of luxury, luck, and power, with prices reaching up to $120 per abalone. But what makes it precious is not just its taste, but also the price of time, human sweat, and greed. Australian abalone today has gone far beyond the concept of seafood. It is a precious metal from the seabed, sought after like gold. If we had to sum up the value of an abalone in 3 words, they would be slow, rare, clean. 3 seemingly simple factors, but they represent a journey that lasts for years between harsh nature and meticulous human hands down to every detail. Slow, as it takes 3 to 5 years for them to grow large enough to harvest, and every inch of growth depends on temperature, salinity, and water purity. One slight deviation, and the entire crop is lost. Rare, because wild abalone have all but disappeared, while global demand, especially from China, Japan, and Korea, continues to grow. And clean, because only cold, unpolluted waters like Tasmania or South Australia can sustain them. That's why the cost of raising abalone is staggering. From water filtration systems, microbiological control, manual feeding, to the meticulous process of harvesting each individual abalone. Just one small mistake can ruin a year of care. Then there's the transportation, which is just as risky as farming. If an abalone dies en route, it's a total loss. So they're either flash frozen or transported alive in simulated marine environments just to keep them fresh until they reach the table. The sky-high price therefore reflects not only the culinary value, but also the price of time, rigor, and a near-perfect environment. It is also the huge profit that turns abalone into sea gold, attracting not only honest fishermen, but also daring smugglers at the bottom of the water. In southern Australia, small boats quietly leave the harbor while it's still dark. On deck, divers in rubber suits prepare for a day of hunting abalone in waters below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, where rip currents, and sharks pose a constant threat. Without the aid of machinery, they had to pry each abalone from the rocks by hand at depths of 33 to 98 feet. One wrong tug, and the abalone would be ruined and worth more than $100. Each dive was a gamble between profit and life. Each dive lasts 30 to 40 minutes, repeated dozens of times a day. Underwater pressure, freezing cold, and lack of oxygen, even a minute of disorientation can cost a life, making this one of the most dangerous jobs in the ocean. But the dangers don't just come from nature. Abalone poachers often dive stealthily into the same areas at night, making underwater encounters more tense and dangerous than shark encounters. Yet many divers choose to stay, not only for the profit, but also for the pride of protecting the precious gift of the sea. For them, each abalone is more than just a livelihood. It is a symbol of endurance, courage, and a bond with the ocean. But not everyone chooses the bright path. When profits exceed ethical boundaries, the dark side begins to emerge, opening the door to an underground war under the sea, where each abalone is a commodity worth a human life. Before becoming a powerful dish on the dinner table, each Australian abalone must undergo an absolutely rigorous processing procedure inside strictly guarded factories that meet international export standards. Immediately after being harvested, they are kept cold and transported to the factory within the first few hours to ensure freshness. Here, workers clean them completely by hand, peeling, removing the organs, and thoroughly washing each one with treated seawater. Absolutely no chemicals are used. Depending on the market, abalone can be kept alive, frozen, or lightly steamed and vacuum packed. Each pallet carries a traceability code, label, and certification, ensuring its journey from seabed to plate is transparent. For high-end orders, abalone is also graded by size, shell color, and meat consistency, because in the luxury world, the beauty of the abalone is sometimes as important as its flavor. Coastal factories are not just processing facilities, but the final workshops that transform the ocean's raw pearls into million-dollar gifts, served at gilded banquets from Hong Kong to Seoul. In many Asian countries, abalone has long transcended culinary boundaries, becoming a symbol of wealth, prosperity, and good wishes, appearing in weddings, housewarmings, or longevity celebrations. A small gift box can cost several hundred to several $1,000s, while at a high-end restaurant, a plate of elaborate abalone stew can cost up to several $1,000s to $500. And in the eyes of the upper class, Australian abalone, clean, firm, wild-caught, has always been the standard of luxury. Customers never ask the price, they just ask, "Is it Australian abalone?" Mr. Wang, the owner of a high-end restaurant in Shanghai, said with a laugh, as if the high price had become a given. As demand grew and supply fell short, the huge profits turned waiting into a luxury. And so smuggling rings began to emerge, turning abalone into white gold, traded clandestinely across Asian borders. Beneath the placid surface, a bustling underground market is brewing. With prices as high as $120 apiece, abalone have become the new currency of the seas, hidden in suitcases, disguised as seafood shipments, or smuggled in refrigerated containers. Every year, tons of abalone are smuggled out of Australia by organized gangs linked across continents, from Melbourne to Hong Kong, Shanghai, and as far as Europe, a huge black market profiteering through tax evasion, money laundering, and international crime. Meanwhile, legal farmers and fishermen are being pushed into a disadvantageous position, with prices being pushed down by the proliferation of smuggled goods. Wild abalone resources are increasingly depleted, causing serious consequences for the marine ecosystem. In the face of this threat, the whole of Australia is taking action. In Tasmania, high-tech farms monitor abalone every step of their life, from salinity, algae levels, to their growth journey, all coded and traceable by QR code, ensuring absolute transparency. From the cold seabed to the luxurious banquet table, each abalone carries a story of time, effort, and trade-offs, reminding us that the choice to consume or preserve is up to each person. From the precious abalones of South Australia, we continue our journey across the ocean to the northern waters of Scotland, where the humble oyster hides a world of value and mystery, painstakingly cultivated and sought after by the most extravagant chefs and gourmets. Scotland is not only famous for its majestic mountains and lakes, but is also home to the world's most precious oysters, where nature and humans work together to create culinary miracles. The rough seas and strong tides are not the enemy, but a gentle exercise for the oysters, helping them absorb minerals evenly and creating a distinctive flavor. Nets and baskets are lowered to the bottom, anchored in cold water, and constantly stirred by waves, helping the oyster mussels to develop optimally.